Git, despite still being a bit terse, is an extremely powerful version control software. However, because it's so powerful, it can take time to learn. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 small techniques to help you use it more effectively. Let's begin. Alright, one of the things that I do on a pretty regular basis is refresh my memory of the last commit. And this can be for a number of reasons, but the most common is usually to see if I can merge some further changes that I've sort of just been working on into the previous commit, because I'm not sure about yourself, but I don't like a long series of sort of commits when you can, through the joys of Git, compact them down into, say, 1 or 3 or, as few as possible. So for that, we use the N and the P options on Git log. So if you're familiar sort of running Git log normally, you'd run Git log, and what you would see are the author, the date, the long commit hash, and the commit message and description. That doesn't necessarily show you what actually changed in the last commit. So to do that, we'll open the command. We'll go to the command again. We'll use P. So we'll show you the actual changes. And now we'll actually limit it to just the last one, because in that previous example, we scroll down as much as the pager allowed. So I'll run that. And you can see now that as before, here at the top, we have the long commit hash. We've got details about the author, the date of the commit message and description, and now we have a diff. But it's only limited because you can see here via end that it's just that commit. Okay, let's say that the commit that you're looking through is quite large, quite detailed, kind of like a mega commit. And unfortunately, that just makes it sort of far too detailed, far too long to sort of find the information that you want easily. So for example, and this isn't necessarily a massive one, but let's just sort of pick one. You can see here it sort of goes on a bit. Okay, not too far, but there's a bit of info in there. And if you're tired, stressed, and so on, you might overlook what you're looking for. Well, by default, Git uses less as its pager, and together, these two things let you search through a commit. Now, if you're not familiar with either of these terms, less is a program which allows for forward and backward movement in a file and supports searching forward and backward within the file using regular expressions. A pager helps you get the output of something, whether that be a file or a commit or so forth, one page or one sort of screen size at a time. Now, because Git uses less as its pager, you can use less's functionality to find the information that you want quite quickly once you're familiar with its search capabilities. So now, what I've done, if you sort of saw before, was use git show to look at one particular commit. And so here we are with the commit. And now let's just say I'm looking for references to a particular command. In this case, since this is the OwnCloud documentation, I'm looking for the OCC command. So we're going to tap the / there, and we'll start typing in a very sort of generic regular expression, which is OCC. And you can see here that now all of the references, at least on one page, starting from the first search result here at the top, have been highlighted. If I then press N, it moves me then to the next one, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, if I hold down Shift and press N, it will then take me back up, right up to the first one. And when we get to the top, it says the pattern can't be found. So that's searching from the top of the file. If I want to then search from the bottom of the file, just the same as before, only we start with a question mark and the pattern again. So then you see I'm taken straight to the last result. And if I press N, we move automatically up the file. And if I hold Shift and N, we go then down the file again. Now, this isn't a video on using regular expressions. I'll link to some excellent resources in the show notes for this video. One tool that I use time and time again is regex101.com, which you can see here. It allows you to create regular expressions on the fly and showing you why the regular expressions matched your sample content or why it didn't, and an array of other support information and documentation. Bit too much to go into here, but check out regex101.com if you want to up your regular expression skills. Popping back to the terminal, we're going to say, let's say that we want to find something like maybe a number. So we'll say 0 to 9 there. And then you can see here we have 2 matches. Actually, sorry, I spoke too soon. We have a whole variety of matches. I didn't look down far enough. Now, let's say that you need to get the list of files that were affected by one or more commits, perhaps because you need the information for a report, someone asked for them, or for some reason you just need that information. To find the list of files, we'd use git log, and this time say we have our commit from before, or maybe you want to look at the last one, or however you go about finding the specific commit that you want to find the information for, and we use the name only option. What this will do, as you can see here, is to show you, again at the top, we have the commit hash, the author's details, the date of the commit, the message, the description, and the list of files here at the bottom that were affected by that commit. Now, it doesn't sort of tell you loads. If we scroll down, you can see that, allowing for merge commits, that all the other ones do have one or several files, and that is a handy way of finding out, well, what was affected by a commit. However, maybe you want to know a little bit more about the files that were affected. Were they added, deleted, updated, and so on. So to do that, instead of doing name only, we're going to use name status. You can see here next to, before the name of the file, we've got M for modified, M for modified again. We keep scrolling down, you'll see sort of modified. Scrolling a bit further. I don't happen to have any that maybe have been added. Oh yeah, here we go. We've got one that's been added. I'm not sure if I have any that were deleted, but throughout these samples you can sort of see that largely they're modified and added, but you've got the symbols there before the name of each file to indicate how that file was affected by this particular commit. Alright, it's time for one last tip, which is how to stage files or parts of files interactively. Now, perhaps you're used to using git add to add files individually, such as by running something like git add, and then we'll say path to our file .adoc or PHP or JS or whatever. Or maybe say you've added multiple files at the same time, such as we'll do sort of str double asterisk dot star dot go. Now, what that will do then is use the shell, in this case the Z shell, to look down through any directory from this point down as far as it can go to look for any file with the .go extension on it, and it will add all those. Now, these approaches are efficient if what you want to do is to stage a particular file, like all of it, or stage any number of files in their entirety. But if you only want to say stage some changes from a list of files, then you need to stage the files interactively. So to start doing that, what you're going to do is use the I option. So we'll say git add and then I, and then we run that. And you can see here that we'll have a list of files at the top. Now note, this is only files that are already under version control. You can see here that we can see the name of the, we can see the path to the file there, and then we'll see a series of commands here down the bottom. Now, the only one that we're going to cover in this video is number 5, which is patch. However, I do encourage you to have a look at all the other ones, and I will link to the documentation in the show notes. So we're going to press 5, or we could write patch, and that will give us then the option to patch or stage interactively any number of the files that are in the list. In this case, there's only one, but you could have, well, I guess any number of files. Now let's just assume for a moment that you had, say, 10 files, and they would then be numbered 1 through 10. To stage all of them, you could just type star. To say type 1, you could do files 1 to 4 and 7 to 9. You could just do 1 to 4. You could just do 7 to 9. And what that then would do, as we'll see here, if I just do 1, is that it will stage just those files and then leave the rest. So now that that's done, I'm going to press that. Now what this has done here is it's showing me the first, what's called a hunk, or a sort of a small section of a file that can be staged. You'll see here that I've got 2 items, a deletion here and a deletion there. Now let's say, for argument's sake, that actually that was wrong. That should have stayed. Whereas this change here, yeah, that's fine. We'll go with that one and we'll stage that change. Well, from the terminal, how do you just stage one of those changes and not the other? Well, what we do is we press S, and that will then split it down into a smaller hunk, or basically separate it if it can. So you can see here, it's a little bit hard to read, but what it's done is now sort of showing us that information again, because you can see here we've split it into 2 hunks, and we just have because our commands are here and we don't see the second hunk as before, which is here in the previous viewing. We just see that one and we say, do we want to do that? We're going to say no, but before we do that, I'm just going to show you what all those options down here mean by pressing the question mark. And you can see here N means, sorry, we've scrolled a bit far. Yes means stage the hunk. N means don't stage it. Q means basically quit, so don't do anything else from this point forward. A is stage this hunk and all later hunks in this file, but not the other files. D is then the inverse of that. G is then go to one specifically. We've got the / again from what you saw in one of the earlier tips for searching, and then array of other commands here. I'm not going to work through all of them. Have a look, have an experiment, and I'll link to the documentation for this in the show notes as well. So then what we're going to do is we're going to then say no. That then doesn't stage it, moves us on to the next one. We're then going to say Y for yes. We've then come down to, because you can see here, again, a little hard to read, probably based on my terminal colors, that we've got a next hunk, and we, in this case, another deletion. Yeah, I believe that that's the right thing to do, so we're going to stage that. Or actually, how about we say A, which will stage this and all others in this file. That was the last one, so now we've come back around to the command again. Sorry, around to the command list. Nothing more to do, so now I'm going to quit. If we then use git status, you'll see here that I have staged some of the changes, but some of the changes aren't staged. If we do tracked, sorry, incorrect there. I believe what I meant to write there was cached. Actually, correction there again. I think it was git diff cached. You can see here that the stage changes include the changes that we wanted. If we then do the non-stage changes, you can see here that the one we didn't want to stage wasn't. And so then from there, we have then seen a very short version or a short intro to interactively adding or staging files. And so that was 4 tips for using Git from the command line more effectively. Sure, they're not necessarily the most sophisticated tips, but they all provide the opportunity to help you use Git that much better and save you time and effort while doing so. As always, if you like what you saw, please give us a like, click the bell icon to be notified when new videos come out. I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. If you like what you're seeing, all of these things let me know that you like the video, you like what's being created, and give me a hint as to the kind of content that you want to see. And I'll see you in a future video.